Hello, attendees of the HAR Engage Conference. I'm Chelsea Pites, social media strategist and author of What to Post. And today we are talking exactly about what to post, some very straightforward, fail-proof strategies for you to develop high value, high engagement content that will build your brand and create more mind share. The first thing we need to make sure of is that we are connected on Instagram, because you might have questions after this class, and I would love to hear from you as well. Feel free to jump on over to the gram, find me by my name, and shoot me over a DM. Thank you again so much for being with us today. I'm also going to be sharing a ton of weekly tips and trainings on using Instagram for real estate coming up in the next few weeks. Lastly, I have a workbook called What to Post. It's 250 pages where you can write inside of it and create your entire content plan for the year or the upcoming year of 2022. You can find that on my link in bio in my Instagram profile as well. So before we start talking about content, I think it's important to understand what makes up your personal brand. Now, this is just my personal opinion of the factors that I take into consideration when I think about what is your brand and how is it received by other people? How can we get your brand out there to create more high value and high engagement content? There's three things in my mind that I think of. Number one, algorithms. Yes, the software, the data, the computers that are running Facebook and LinkedIn and Instagram and all the other places in between. Now, we don't control the algorithms. We have some understanding of what those algorithms are looking for, and I'm going to talk about that in just a moment. But by and large, we don't control the algorithms, but I am going to empower you with some information that will help you work smarter and not have to work harder when it comes to the socials. The next thing on the list is perception. And this is the perception of the person on the other side of the screen or device who is consuming your content. We want them to feel like you are there, like you are everywhere without you having to be everywhere all the time. Your expertise is in real estate and helping people find and sell their properties, not social media 24 hours a day. But the perception we want to build is that you are a credible authority in your niche who is consistently providing value. We don't control that perception totally. We can control how often we show up and in what formats, but we also don't control how somebody may react to our content. But we can use these algorithms to help us show up what seems like more often in all the right places. Lastly is content, which is what we're talking about today. And that is the only thing that we can control. We control the topic, the genre, the format, the frequency, but we do not control the reaction of the person who is consuming that content. When all of these things come together, in my mind, that's what builds your personal brand. And I like to go through this because there are some things that are out of our control when it comes to branding and some things that are in control. And we are going to talk about content, which is what we control next. Before we talk about content, I want to talk about this mindset of thinking about content a little bit differently. There is a lot of stress around content, and I want to de-stress this for you. I want to empower you with something that you can do right now that will make a difference in your brand and in your business. And that's this concept of becoming the super fan. Typically, when you hear someone talking about a super fan, it's about a super fan of your content, that you need raving fans or you need super fans. Of course, that would be amazing. We'd all love to have super fans. What I'm talking about is flipping that and saying, can you become the super fan for someone else's content? Typically, this would be with intention and a strategy of talking to people that you want to be seen by, that you want to build brand with, mind share, past clients, current clients, somebody who may refer you business. The reason being a super fan is so critical because that is where the attention is. Many people are checking their social media feeds multiple times a day and still pay attention to those little annoying notifications that pop up on your mobile device. You can build brand without posting content. Now, don't get me wrong, we're talking about content. So we are going to talk about making content. I believe in making content, but you can also build your brand without only relying just on content, because your comments actually are some of the most important content that you can create. Also, there's notifications that go out when you're engaging with someone's content or whether you're sending them a direct message. That notification goes out. Since we still pay attention to those notifications, we typically think it's family or friends that were probably talking about us that we want to check out. We open it up, and then what do I see? I see your profile picture, I see your name, and I see your comment. Free repeat branding. Additionally, when it comes to the algorithms, these algorithms are looking at data points. Data points can be likes, they can be DMs, any kind of actions that you're taking. And it's going to make these predictions that you might want to see that person that you're engaging with and vice versa. So if you are proactively being a super fan and you are commenting on a potential client or past client's content, it is going to assume that you have a relationship or that you would prefer to see more of that content. And if that person responds to you, then they're going to see a two-way mutual relationship. So what happens is the algorithm is just taking in these data points and it's saying, you know what, we're going to make sure that when this person does make a post, because they've talked to this other person in the past, we're going to make sure that that post shows up higher in this other person's feed. Attention, brand awareness. It also has this concept of being a good community member. These platforms want to become your email, your phone, your text message. They want you to be in here using it to communicate with people. And the more active you are checking in or talking to people several minutes a day, commenting and DMing, the better your community member score, if you will. If you have a really good community member score, then typically your content's going to go a little bit farther when you do post it. Can't say enough about direct messages. I don't have this in writing, but it's my personal opinion that direct messages are some of the most important metrics that these data points and computer systems are looking at and weighing, trying to determine who should see your content. So send those proactive direct messages. I also think it's important to look at these social landscapes in a different way because pretty much every platform that we're going to be using, Facebook, Instagram, and whatever else is coming out in the future, has these three major defined areas. And sometimes you might be surprised that where you're spending your time may not be giving you as much ROI as it could be. So at the top, we have the feed. This is the original feed that you're used to when you open up Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn. This is where you're going to go wide. This is where you're putting those billboards along the highway where people are going to see your content. Possibly they're going to find you with the hashtag search on Instagram. You're building brand awareness and you're providing value. But the stories is where you build the like, no trust. This is the relatability part. This is where you build the relationship. You go deeper, relatable human content. It's typically less polished. It's private one-to-one communication. So nobody else sees those public comments. And then we communicate in the stories and just generally on social media through our direct messages. So think of it in terms of where are you spending your time in these three areas? Do you need to start spending time in other two areas? Maybe you're just spending your time primarily in the feed. Maybe you're spending your time primarily in the stories, but if you only spend time in the stories, then you're not going to have a chance to grow because only those people are people who follow you, vice versa. So I personally like to work bottom up. I like to spend the majority of my time in direct messages so that I'm talking to people and creating that relationship. Then I like to spend time in stories, creating and consuming stories because I feel that it's very human and behind the scenes. And lastly, I spend the least amount of time in the feed. There is no wrong or right with this. I would encourage you to spend time in all three areas. Now, talking about comments, sometimes we need to think about comments in a different way as well. Your comments or other people's comments can become incredible content for you in the future. And what I have on the screen here are a few shots of some friends of mine who are using comments as content. This first image, Donna, I left a comment on her post that was in the feed. She took a screenshot of that and posted that screenshot to her story and said, check out what's being said. So that's going to drive eyeballs and traffic over to her feed post that maybe you wouldn't have looked at before. Another friend of mine, Neil, in the center here, creates his own quotes and uses them as graphics and puts his face in every single one of them. Lastly, another incredible TikTok and Instagram influencer and educator, Giselle Ugardi. She is using someone's comment as inspiration for her video. The comment is right up here at the top of her head there, and then she's using that as inspiration for her next piece of content, something that all of us can be doing. Use poll stickers, question stickers. Anytime someone asks you a question or there's a problem or you're looking at your text messages or your emails, that is all really great information to help you get started with what kind of content should you post, answering your commonly asked questions. Now, when you use these stickers in Instagram, the nice thing is if you're using a question sticker or asking for feedback, you can then turn around in the future, take the answers or the input from that sticker, and you can post them in the future as future content. What I like about this too is that it's anonymous automatically. So you're not going to be posting someone's picture or name, you're just going to see their comment. Overall, the idea here is maybe it's about less contenting and more commenting. Don't worry, we're all going to talk about content, but I like to think of it in terms like this because there's no stress, no videos, no hashtags, no copywriting, you having a human relationship and being a super fan. Now, how do we create the content with context? Content is the thing. It's the video, it's the podcast, it's the post, it's the hashtags, it's the reel, the TikTok. Context is how you have that thing, that post actually have meaning to someone's head or their heart, or both. So the way that we have to look at this first and foremost is different types of human behavior that are happening on different platforms. We kind of tend to lump the socials, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok together. And then we kind of lump the search engines, Google and YouTube. Could you say YouTube is a social media platform? Absolutely. But the language and intent is different on a search engine versus the socials. Because when I am looking for something and go to Google, I have to have an idea in my head specifically of what I'm looking for, that I want more information. Or maybe I'm going to YouTube and I want to learn how to make a Facebook ad. So I'm willing to sit down and watch a 35-minute video on YouTube as long as I'm learning something because I have intention. When I come to the socials, not every time, but generally speaking, I may not be looking with the same type of intent. I may just be scrolling through for entertainment, to connect with friends, boredom, habit, etc. So that might be seen as an interruption if your content is in the format that looks too much like an ad, or if it's maybe not in the right place at the right time. Yes, you do need to talk about what you do and showcase your properties and listings. Absolutely. It's important to think about what else can you inject in there, answering questions, videos about the local community, because I may not be ready to buy a property because I bought one last year in this neighborhood. However, I am interested in this neighborhood and I want more information about this neighborhood. And I might have somebody who wants to move into this neighborhood, and I'm looking at your content that not only shows me listings in that neighborhood, but also all of the highlights and the small businesses. I'm going to remember you. So think about that when you're posting content and what might work. I'm going to put all of these up here. Feel free to take a picture if you like to. Why do we like, comment, and share content? Typically, it's because we can relate to it on some level. It's human, emotional, it's solving a common issue or problem. It's helping us learn something new. I love learning things on tutorials or hacks for your iPhone. I love those videos. That's always something that helps educate and also position you as a credible authority. If it entertains you or makes you laugh, we'd love to laugh and have joy. If it's on trend or a popular topic, is it insightful? Does it help someone see something in a different way? That's where I usually spend the majority of my time, is taking complex concepts about social media and breaking them down into really digestible pieces. Perhaps you can do the same for the process of purchasing a home. Making them look credible or intelligent by sharing. Remember, what I share says something about my brand as well, even though it's your content. And then last but not least, clear and understandable summaries, especially if you're sharing charts, stats, market updates. Take it one step further and let us know simply, what does it mean for me as a homeowner, a renter, or a potential seller? This is another very easy template that I work off of for content. If it hits one or more, because you can have more than one per post idea, then you're in the right place. These are the 5 E's of content. Number 1, educational. That's the bread and butter of content. It's really, especially if you're going to be a credible authority in your niche and people are going to trust you to help negotiate their sale or purchase of their property, educational content matters. You become the resource. And as you become the resource and as you show up again and again and again, you have teach before you reach. You have taught them something, you have shown them something, you have provided value, and then you get to reach out and earn that business or trust. Next, we have entertaining. People are attracted to human and your personality. And entertaining is often could fall under the category of making a TikTok or a reel or a short or stories. And it can also be in feed posts. Entertaining doesn't mean that it has to necessarily be funny, but can definitely be something that you are inspired by, that you're motivating with, that you're encouraging. And yes, of course, it can be funny as well. Emotional, relatability, there's magic in the mundane, things that we all do every day or can relate to, that bonds us as a community. Engaging content. This is probably the simplest one on this list because if you ask a question or if you ask for advice, a recommendation, feedback, etc., if you use a poll sticker, if you use a question sticker, that is creating conversations, and those conversations lead to conversions. And every time someone taps on one of those poll stickers, that's a data point that is going to the system and saying, we're going to show this person's content closer up to the front of their feed because they've engaged with it. Lastly, my personal favorite is exclusive. That's just behind the scenes. It doesn't have to be a big reveal or a new property that's coming to the market soon. It can be, but it can also be what it's like on the other side of what it's like to work with you or be in your office or on your team, the behind the scenes of your life. You get to choose what you share and what you don't share. There is a difference between personal and private. Personal is human, things that we all do and can connect with, and private is the content that you decide not to share. Here's a couple of ideas. Please do take a picture of this because I'm not going to go through all of it, but I just wanted to break down a couple of ideas, and this could be for video. I am a big video fanatic because I think it's so important to show your face. I say faces take you places, but these could also be graphics. They could be Instagram carousel posts. They could be podcast ideas too, behind the scenes of what it's like a day in your life or getting a listing prepared, before and afters. It could be mindset or business tips. You are a professional and you have business tips to share with other people as well. What I learned from X, real estate information, any kind of most asked questions. I'm also going to give you some content ideas that are very location specific as well. I love these ideas here because while they have nothing to do with the actual real estate market, they have everything to do with positioning you as the go-to expert for your town. And it's also going to give you great ideas to make content on and the opportunity to probably go out there and experience, which hopefully will be fun for you. And also, if you are going to be interviewing small local businesses, it gives you the opportunity to connect with the owners of these businesses who also will buy and sell real estate and who can collaborate with you on promoting the content about them out to their social networks as well. So in general, think in terms of being a travel blogger. Think like a travel blogger. Now, if you're having a tough time getting creative, definitely take a picture of this slide as well. These have nothing to do with the local area or real estate, but have everything to do with getting your creative mind thinking, to start, coming up with some of that human relatable content that might spark some interest and spark some content for you that other people will relate to. This might even help you in that entertaining category as well. Okay, the next thing we're going to talk about is my 5S strategy. Yes, I like lists. I like letters. Apparently, I like the number 5 as well. The 5S content strategy to help you get found, get followed, and get leads. Now, the first S is searchable, and we have to make sure that your content is getting found so that you can get followed and then you can get leads. And searchability means that you're getting discovered. And how do we ensure that when people land on your profiles or your websites, they are optimized, they tell the story of who you are and how you can help them? And also, how does the system find you more often? This starts with optimizing your profiles within Instagram, your headlines and your about section, your summary in LinkedIn. your about page on your Facebook business page, anywhere terms and keywords to the system that is searching and sorting your content, we need to do that. Also, Google My Business for local hyperlocation authority to make sure that you're getting served up as many times as possible. Do you have reviews on your Google site? Do you have reviews on your Facebook business page? Are you using researched and relevant hashtags and keywords that not only describe what you do in your business, but are going to actually describe words that your customers are searching for? Are you using right alt text on your Instagram images? Hang with me because I'm going to show you that in a second. Are you using closed captioning and text on your videos? There are many people who choose to turn the sound off to consume videos, and there are many who are unable to hear. So this increases inclusivity, accessibility, and also your search engine optimization. And of course, you have a website. We want to make sure the same holds true, that you have those keywords optimized for your site as well. How is Instagram specifically changing? Now, I'm putting here in Instagram, an emphasis on Instagram, because this is one of the platforms that is widely used, and they are making it easier for you to get found as long as you know what to do. So how is their search changing? This started in November of last year. They just recently made an announcement again in August of 2021. They've been improving this search functionality, and previously your content or your account name had to include an exact hashtag or exact keyword that someone typed into the search bar of the Explore page. The Explore page is like Google baked into Instagram. It's the little magnifying glass icon where you can search for any kinds of words or topics. Previously, you had to make sure that it was an exact word match, meaning if I wanted to be found for hashtag Scottsdale real estate, but I used hashtag Scottsdale homes instead, too bad, so sad, you weren't going to match. This meant you were missing out content on different topics if you didn't include those exact keywords, and it was a heavy reliance on hashtags. Now, this new interest search is helping your content have more chances to get found so you can get followed and get leads. What data is it looking at? The good news is it's not just looking at hashtags, it's looking at everything. It's looking at the username on your profile, the name field under your profile picture. It's looking at your bio section. What keywords do you want to be found for? It's looking at your captions in your feed posts. It's looking at the closed captioning, i.e. the words that are being auto-transcribed from your audio onto your video. Right alt text. It's looking at hashtags, of course, and hashtags that you follow and your tagged locations. So I am going to get to that right alt text, so just give me 1 second. Here's what we need to be looking at, where these big blue arrows are. You need to optimize these main areas, your username and your profile name sections of your Instagram profile. Yes, you also still need to include that information in this little bio section here too, but these two areas are looking for exact word matches. So those are highly searchable. Now, if you have never used right alt text, you're going to learn something today. When you're posting images, not videos, images in your Instagram feed, there is a setting. It's a little bit hard to see. This right here in this first picture is where you would write your caption, tag your people, if there are any people to tag, and tag your locations. If you look towards the 3/4 of the way down, it says advanced settings. You want to click on that. Then the next screen is going to take you to accessibility, and you want to tap on right alt text. You are going to type in a description of what is in the photograph. If it's a post about me giving an Instagram tip, it might say something like Chelsea Pites, real estate social media educator, shares Instagram tips on X, Y, and Z. How about LinkedIn? This headline is highly searchable, as is everything in the about section. Are you putting keywords that are going to help you get found for your niche? Also, captioning. Now, hopefully, all of the platforms are going to start adding closed captioning as a default for any type of video, but until they do, you might want to check out one of the many apps that can help caption your videos. The one that I happen to use is Captions Speak to the Camera. But again, you can pick any one that works easily for you. If you're using Instagram Stories, Instagram Reels, IGTV, or TikTok, the good news is there are already built-in captions there. Please make sure you're using them. The second and third S, they go together. So that's why we're going to talk about them together. Shareable and savable. Content that somebody is wanting to share or save is typically something that is going to build your brand, build your authority, build your credibility, and is often educational in nature. Is it helpful? Is it motivational? Is it inspiring? Is it emotional? Is it entertaining? Is it funny? I actually share a lot of entertaining, funny content as well. Keep in mind that if I share something of someone else's, it has to have a reflection on my brand as well. Typically, this content is less about you and more about helping solve a challenge or problem or answer a question that your community will be asking. It definitely builds credibility and authority in a niche, and your account becomes the resource. The best part about this is you don't even have to create the content. I curate content about Instagram and about social media for real estate, and I distill it down into simplified summaries. I'm not making that content, but I am reading it and I'm curating it, and now my profile has become a resource for that community. I want you to think about, what are you sharing and saving? What is it that makes you want to share and save it? You also need to make sure that you have a public account on Instagram if you want your content shared or saved, and vice versa if you want other people to see it. That is important because we're not going to be able to share your content easily if it's a private account. We'd be able to save it, but we'd have to make sure that we're already approved as your follower. So there are some barriers to entry there. Your goal is, can you make one post a month that is either shareable and or savable, something that is helpful to your community. Here's a few visual examples. This is an old picture of my feed, and you can see that there's pictures of me and my family. Those are not shareable and savable, but they are human and they are engagement focused posts. But the ones that aren't about me, the ones that are inspiring, motivating, or educational, like this quote that I said, less contenting, more commenting, that one had 155 shares and 133 saves. How about our friend Katie Lance, who's incredible? She shares really helpful Facebook or Instagram or social media tips for real estate. And this is a shareable, savable post that you might share or save. My friend Jimmy, who creates swipe and steal email templates for your email list. Yes, absolutely. I want to save this so I can come back to it because maybe I want to try that exact format. And he said, go ahead, steal it and use it. Also, if you're making reels or TikToks, another form of sharing and saving is if you're going to create your own original content from being inspired from someone else's. On reels, it's called remix. On TikTok, it's called duets. Also, tagging other people in the comments is a form of sharing as well. The fourth S is story focused. Tell us the story, the behind the scenes of what it's like to work with you, of what it's like to be in your business, of how you got that new listing. Tell us the story. We want to be invested in that story. Also, don't forget about your captions. Are you telling a visual story and you're not furthering it down in the caption? Because yes, people do read that, as does the system, the data points. Are you humanizing your content? Are you showing your face? Are you letting people hear your voice? You are your brand. Your house or your brand is not a house. It's really important to show up and be human. Are you using you versus I language? When you write out your captions, reread them. See how many times you use the word I. When you switch those I's to yous, you're inviting that person to have a conversation with you, and hence will get more engagement. Specifically, formats of stories, I'm a huge fan, and pretty much every platform has them. It's short form content that's typically less edited and disappears in 24 hours with private one-to-one messaging. Very critical to build that like, know, trust. The behind the scenes and that exclusive content is going to encourage the conversation. Now, this is a quote from Gary Vee. He says, I'll give you the biggest tip when it comes to content creation: document, don't create. Instead of thinking about creating all the time, you're going to think about that when it comes to your 1 month shareable or savable post, of course. But on the daily, sharing what you're doing behind the scenes or documenting your day is a really easy way to create content. Now, specifically for the stories format, I love the stories format because it is CRM. It's camera first, which typically means your face is going to be in it, whether you like that or not. It's a really good thing. It's real-ish time because it's going to happen within a 24-hour cycle, and people are going to feel like they're part of that journey and story with you. And then most importantly, it's message enabled, private message enabled. In fact, there's a call to action at the bottom of every story that says message, 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 message. And you're going to have those really much deeper back and forth conversations there, and they're private. So they're not going to be seen out in like the regular comments of a post. I am going to put all of this up here as well. You can take a picture of this because there are huge opportunities within stories. I do want to let you know too, stories are amazing, but stories are for the people who already follow you. So if your goal is to grow and find new people, you can't spend all of your time just in stories. You do have to show up in the feeds, I should say, because there's a Reels feed, there's a home feed, and you have to show up there as well. Stories is to where you go deeper, build the like, no trust, and then the feeds are where you're going to put those billboards on the highway, kind of similar to what we talked about with the feed, stories, and the DMs. What I like about this is that you currently can still see who's watching. There's been some tests about removing that. I hope they don't. There's a lot of value in lurkers because lurkers are watching and they're consuming, and they may not say anything until they see you 3 months later and they'll say, oh my gosh, I saw that video you were in. So don't dismiss lurkers. They are a value as well. We do talk about private direct messaging, and my last two favorite things, which may not be your two favorite things, is you can't totally outsource it. It's really hard to outsource your face and your voice and your human brand behind the scenes. It can be done, but it is a little bit more difficult. And I personally think that's a good thing. Also, behavior training, we are starting to get very used to that unedited behind the scenes story where we can connect with you. And if you're not there, we might work with somebody who is. So a couple of pro tips there: adding text, adding stickers. Stickers are a really important part of stories. And remember, every time you have a poll sticker on there, if someone taps on that poll, that is a data point. So that's a really easy way to sort of drive that engagement. There is no magic number on how many times a day you should be posting. It's really, truly up to you. There have been some research reports that say 3 to 7 times in a 24-hour period. I know what you're thinking, wow, that sounds like a lot. But what if it only took me 4 seconds to post one and 10 seconds to post another? I bet that you could create 3 to 7 stories throughout a day, whether they're pictures or short videos, in less than 2 full minutes. Now, when you look at it that way, it's really not that much time. Okay, the last S is probably the easiest one and the most important, which is starting conversations. DMs, comments, critical to the algorithm. Include verbal and text calls to action in every post and video that you make. Tell people to engage. Ask them a question. Ask them if they agree or disagree, and to let you know below. Use those engagement stickers, asking questions in posts and comments. I highly recommend, when you're commenting on other people's posts, to ask a question to start that back and forth mutual engagement. Posting something on the socials where you ask for advice, help, opinion, or recommendations, guaranteed to get you engagement. It's as simple as putting in a poll sticker to your next story, whether it's Facebook or Instagram. And we're going to finish this out by talking about what is this concept of value. And to illustrate that, I'm going to show you a post that I made within Instagram, and you can go to my feed and you can find this if you're interested. But I have this really difficult time when I hear these words like authenticity and value, and I am a kind of person that really needs to have concrete examples. That's why I made this, and I hope that it's helpful for you, because there really is a difference between views and value. Getting a lot of views doesn't necessarily mean that you provided a lot of value, and vice versa. It doesn't necessarily equate to more transactions, because value does come in all shapes and sizes. And so value can be solving a problem, helping someone, learn the answer to something. It can be creating smiles and laughter. It can be inspiring or motivating someone. It can be sharing words of encouragement through a direct message or a comment to them on their posts. It can be you providing your unique insights on any type of topic. You just listened to a podcast. What were your takeaways? You just read a book that was really inspiring to you. Summarize it. Summarizing and simplifying. There's a lot of confusing information in the real estate market today, and you can summarize and simplify it. You can become the credible resource. You can teach someone something new. You can connect emotionally. Showing up as yourself is definitely value. Thoughtfully commenting, documenting your day, sending voice messages, sharing someone else's content, asking for advice. Then you're giving that person on the other side the ability to help you, and that makes them feel good. You could provide a review for a small business. Just because it can be measured doesn't necessarily mean it's meaningful for your business. So ask yourself, when you're creating content, does it speak to your niche? Does it highlight your skills? Does it lean into your expertise? Does it showcase your superpower? Does it build a relationship? Does it create relevance? Does it advance your credibility? And hopefully, does it also bring you joy to make it? Lastly, I want to mention personal versus private. A lot of people ask me about that. Personal content is human content, the things that we all do. We all use phones, we all have hobbies, we all hopefully eat. Those are things that we can talk about and humanize, and those are personal. Private is the content that you determine what you want to share and what you don't want to share, and that's up to each and every person. But you can be a private person and also create personal human content. One of my favorite quotes by Felicity and Nora, relatability: people come for the plot, but they stay for the characters. And you're the character in that plot. There is no magic hashtag formula or time to post. There is no one size fits all. There are best practices that can help you, but if there was a magic pill or formula, I'm sure somebody would be selling it now. Social media doesn't have a linear ROI because people are not metrics. They're not numbers. And social media is like a relationship in real life. Those take time. Just like anything in life that you want to see results from, it takes time and consistency. These are some things that I remind myself of daily when I'm feeling overwhelmed with content creation. Faces take you places. Show your face. Your comments are content. Think about teaching before you're reaching. There is magic in the mundane, everyday things that we do. Consistency doesn't have to mean daily. Being you is 100% scalable, and try not to stalk unless you're talking. Thank you so much for joining us today. Remember, your brand is not a house, it is you. And you can find me here on Instagram at chelsea.pites. Thanks. We'll see you